Happy Easter, and hope you all had a great day. It was just awesome. We had awesome weather. So, this is day 1346. No sign of life of Richard. And I will get started right away. Even on Easter, we have lots of news. So, we had a great sermon today about Easter, about that, there were other resurrections, what made Jesus's resurrection special. And it was, um, and so it was just a great sermon. And I'm not going to repeat it, but it really puts a skip in your walk because it was a very different resurrection. And it is a powerful one, and it gives us power. It gives us power over death. It gives us power to establish justice, to move forward without fear. And you see that with the apostles. They were so fearful. They didn't really understand what was going to happen. They didn't see the bigger picture. And then once Jesus resurrected with that kind of power, because it was just with immense power, then they understood. Then they understood and they went forth without any fear at all. But Jesus did tell them, how I sent you out, and I said you didn't need to take anything with you, that everything would be provided for you. And they said, right. And he goes, were you in need of anything? And they said, no. And he goes, well, I'm telling you now, when you go out 2 by 2, right, you need to take your cloak, take your bag, take your sword, take a sword, because he knew that we needed to go out in strength and power, because we were going to have to work really hard to establish justice. And that's something that I think that many of us have forgotten. We just feel like with some of the doctrines out there that Jesus is going to do everything. But no, he's given us marching orders to establish justice. And so in Richard's case, that's what we've been doing. From the very beginning of this case, it's like they were trying to make excuses to not look for Richard. And one of their methods was to smear him and even to criminalize him. And we were like, that doesn't make any sense. That, you have a missing soldier here. None of that other stuff matters. When you have a missing soldier, you just go out and find them. And that wasn't the case. And now we know, because of the yellow Interpol, that's a very, very big part of this whole case, is that all the smears and even the weaponization of the trying to make him into a criminal was not accurate. Even calling him a deserter was not accurate, because he was a yellow Interpol. And Interpol doesn't fool around. Interpol is not an agency, an organization that fools around. And you can't fool around with it. And it's like, okay, they're a yellow Interpol. That means we need to check Richard's record, because Richard's record looks stellar. Because if there was one wanted thing in there, or then he would be a red Interpol, not a yellow notice Interpol. And that was very, very important. And now, with the picture that was tampered with, that was given to Interpol, I don't think Interpol thought of that very kindly, that they were given a tampered picture of Richard. So we have been for months um, um, writing letters asking for that picture to be investigated and removed. And, so just this last month, it was removed from the Interpol, and an accurate picture of Richard was put up there. So it's a very, very big deal, and it doesn't end there, because we would like the results of the investigation. Who gave Interpol a tampered photo for a yellow notice for a missing person, a missing soldier, U.S. Army soldier from Fort Bliss? Um, that is a huge, huge question that we would like answered. And really telling in all of this, because we maintain that very early on, the end of July of 2020 and beginning of August 2020, that they did find remains of Richard. And also, there's a possibility that in December of 2020, they found more remains of Richard, since Richard was brutally murdered and dismembered. And that's the only answer to all the information that we're getting with these different locations of different findings of Richard's remains. So, and autopsies, the different autopsies, uh, the the questions that we have with the chief medical examiner of El Paso, um, and they're questions based on very, very good hard evidence, because we got his name from those autopsy reports, and we looked into it. And Mario Rascon Ortiz, um, you know, is the last time we had information come in, which was just recently, he was not an American citizen. And how can that be? There's an anomaly then in the appointment of Mario Raskin Ortiz, and who was in charge of that appointment, El Paso commissioners, with a judge presiding over them, named Veronica Escobar. And so that in 2014, Veronica Escobar was the judge presiding over that court, which is very, very interesting because of her being up to no good in Richard's case. So with Mario Raskin Ortiz not being an American citizen, you have to realize where we're coming from. We're coming from immigrants' families. My mother received her citizenship right there at White Sands Missile Range in New Mexico. That's where she got her citizenship after I was born. I was born there at White Sands. My grandfather, my father's father, came over from Germany, received his citizenship in Oregon, Portland, Oregon. That's where my father was born. So he was coming from Germany. We have then on my husband's side the Irish connection, where his grandmother came over from Ireland legally and got her citizenship, and then lived and worked and everything in Newport, Rhode Island. So it's, we and even his grandfather coming over from Italy. So you have a family that really is pro-immigration, pro-legal immigration. So this is not anything against Mario Raskin Ortiz getting a visa and coming over to work in the United States. Our problem is, did he have a visa? Who gave him the visa? What was the visa for? And why was he given a $500,000 job, just about a 500,000, to be chief medical examiner when he's not an American citizen, and that job is a judicial position that is required by the Texas Constitution for him to be an American citizen. I'm just saying, you want to follow the law. His appointment didn't follow the law. Was there an exception? Why was there an exception? And, so is Veronica Escobar going to explain herself here and the El Paso commissioners, and then also tell us about these autopsy reports? Because we've been waiting a long time about these autopsy reports of Richard. This is, a multifaceted case, and the autopsy reports with the yellow Interpol are very important, because all the pieces that we have put together that of evidence, hard evidence, is pointing to a binational crime scene, right? And why do we say that? Well, because we have a yellow Interpol. You'd only have an Interpol if it crosses the border. But also, it's not just Interpol, even though Interpol was at that 15 plus agency task force find Richard Halliday. That was a dog and pony show, because there was no op-ord for that task force find Richard Halliday. There were no assignments, no due-outs, time periods, scheduling for reports that would come out to give to the public. No, this was all just money wasted for a dog and pony show. But Interpol was there, and so was ATF, and so were the Mexican government, the Mexican military, the Fiscalia. So this is another indication. They're not just going to be over there just to be nice. This is another indication that the crime scene went across the border into Mexico. And of course, we have Nadal Baim, who is related to Lieutenant Colonel Bradford Bugado, who is related, and all the conflicts of interest with the FBI Supervisory Director Jesus Eddie Nieto, with his wife, the more conflicts of interest with Cynthia Hernandez Nieto, with Marlon Soto Hernandez, and the Bugado family there. There's lots and lots of conflicts of interest, and those conflicts of interest go into the Walmart mass shooting with Richard's case. And that also then makes this a binational case, because Rosa Maria Valdez Garcia, who is from Mexico with her son, she targeted Richard's case. Okay, so why would she target Richard's case? And this is, so there's lots and lots of proof, lots of questions, how this case is connected to the Walmart case, which Rosa Maria Valdez Garcia is connected to, along with Richard's case, and then being binational. So, it really looks like there is some kind of collusion, some kind of orchestration between the cartels and law enforcement agencies in both the Walmart mass shooting case and Richard's murder, disappearance and murder, forced disappearance and murder. And we did not come to that investigative theory or conclusion with no evidence. There's so much evidence, and we need answers to all of that. And that would be then people that have access to major records. And in Richard's case, James Courtney Hart has access to records. Corinne Adeline West has access to records. FBI Supervisory Director Jesus Nieto has access to records. And his wife, Cynthia Hernandez Nieto, that works in intelligence in Fort Bliss, has access to records. The same thing with Lieutenant Colonel Bradford Bugado in the G3 of the 32nd ADCOM. He's G3. He has access to records. And of course, Sean Bernabe, who now has conflicts of interest now, we're putting it together. And when we really have put some of those conflicts of interest together tightly, we will tell you about it. But yeah, he didn't end up the commander of Fort Bliss for nothing. I can just tell you that right now. And now we understand why he is, performed so evilly. Is that a word? Evilly? He performed so wickedly, evilly. At my baptism, and I put this up today, I rejected the devil. I rejected Satan. I rejected the evil. So he's definitely evilly. I think that's a good word. And he evilly did some very, very, very bad things to, as a general, makes it even worse, makes him very wicked. How he responded to Richard's case, an active duty soldier's case. It's starting to make sense why we had to go through what we did, because of who he is and his connections. So that is, it's just also fine-tuned, right? Fine-tuned. But even though that they've been putting this together for years, and this criminal network, because it is a criminal network, you still have to contend with the law. And the law, you just can't get around the law. Lies cannot be maintained. It's just impossible. And it's going down. It's a losing game to be evilly, to be wicked. It's a losing game. And I think Easter is a great day that proves that case, because every intention for Jesus was wicked. They had wicked intentions for him. They wanted him to be no more. They wanted the creator of all things to be no more. And, that's why when he bursted out of the grave, it was with such great power that the guards were killed. He's not a buttercup. He did not just, take his finger and roll open the grave door, unseal it or whatever, and then just kind of walk out friendly. Hey, how are you guys doing? I'm the risen Christ. That's not how he did it. He burst forth with power. And, so the liars, the deceivers, those that are the saboteurs, those that just go along to get along, and I'm sure the guards were going along to get along. They died. There's no, the lies cannot be maintained, and the betrayals can't be maintained. And I, from the very beginning, I've said God's hand is all over this, because we knew that it smelt so bad. We've said it from the beginning, as something's very fishy, something smells so bad. Where's our son? And why is that such a contentious question? Where is our son? Find our son. Because the army, we know for sure that the army could find our son in a matter of hours if they wanted to. And there's no sign of life. But there is a sign of his identity being stolen. And there is lots of harassment, lots of threats, continuous harassment, and, you know, identity theft. Identity theft. And these people work in their criminal network using identity theft. And it all needs to be investigated. And, you know, you say, well, who's going to investigate? Who's going to do it? Well, we are. We are. You know, that even the poor widow gets justice from the unjust judge. You see? Because the lies cannot be maintained. The law is there. And no matter how hard these the criminal network, they don't try so hard to cover things up. It's there. It's just that we, as the working people, and I don't want to say that they don't work, because they do work, but they're criminals. They're a criminal network. The people, the good, I don't even want to call us good. The Americans, the people that live, it's not even just Americans, right? Because now we're such a, we have so many undocumented, right? Undocumented. We have illegals by the millions in this country. So the people that live in this country that have to pay for things, they are being swindled. They are being hoodwinked by this criminal network. And, you know, so it's just clear because the swindling, they just depend on us being hard at work, not having time to look into who they are and what they're doing. And once you look into who they are, what are their conflicts of interest, what are they doing, they don't even hide. Leilani Hart was getting her mail there at Dreams Cabaret. James Courtney Hart works there at the VA office with veterans' disability benefits. They do not hide Marlon Soto or all the others, and Jesus Eddie Nieto Jr. They don't hide. They're right there. And Ernest Christopher Grant, they didn't hide him. He was the media sweetheart. But if you look into him and you see what a big time criminal, perpetual criminal, like Leilani Hart that he is, it and being connected to these other so-called witnesses and what they said and who they are. When you put all of it together, you understand that the Walmart mass shooting was not a lone shooter. Absolutely, it was orchestrated, and there's a lot more to it than all that glitters is not gold. That's what my mother-in-law used to say. You know, Ernest Christopher Grant could go on to all the news, and they could lift him up and try to make him glittery, and meet with Beto, and meet with Chris Cuomo, and and meet with the governor of Texas, get an audience with the governor of Texas. I wish I'd have an audience with the governor of Texas. And he goes in there, but just because he's glittery doesn't mean he's gold. He's pretty rotten. He's pretty rotten. And what he said was so vile and vulgar, and so divisive, and also not the truth. Absolutely not the truth. And it's not me saying that. It is the news media. It is the evidence, the truth coming out over time, that even the news media that love to um, be a false witness, right? They always commit that crime of being a false witness, twisting and turning truths to meet their needs, their political ends. And, you know, even they were forced to have to admit that Christopher Grant is up to no good, right? So, then why didn't Donna Sifford say something? Why didn't, there's others in this whole thing. So, just the evidence is there that they cannot maintain their lies because it's impossible. And, you know, uh, Christ is King. Christ is Lord of all things. And so they can try to put forth their satanic order in, but they just can't maintain it. It's just not. Satan is a creature. Christ is the creator. So they cannot win. And I think Easter is the great day of victory, and it's just begun. It's just begun. Easter is an octave. It's so important that it keeps going, and I think even after that 40 days, it's just so Easter is just the celebration, the wrapping your head around the victory of Easter has just begun, and the leaders that are up to no good, that try to change the date, right? Change the meaning of the date, make it religious, and all of that. It, they're just, it's like they're paddling up a stream without an oar or whatever. I'm trying to get these sayings from my mother-in-law. I really miss her so much because she really had some great, great little sayings, how she would speak, that would speak thousands of words just in a sentence. So, and I guess Happy Easter does that, right? Happy Easter does that. Christ is risen. Christ is risen indeed. Alleluia. Alleluia speaks 1,000 words. And if you're not accustomed to saying those things, your body, sometimes it's hard to get them out, right? But I'm going to tell you this. Once you're accustomed to saying it, it's just you want to do a jig, you want to do a dance, and it's just a beautiful victory speech, 1,000 words in Christ is risen. Christ is risen indeed. Hallelujah. So it's a really good day for all of this. And am I saying that I'm not aware of the risk, that that evil people do evil things? We have been put through so much harassment, so many threats and everything, right? But it's how can I say, at the beginning they were a little more powerful. Right now, it's kind of like they're throwing softballs or little feathers. Um, and is the risk there? Of course, the risk is there. We've taken precaution, but because we're getting so close, and we really feel like we know who murdered Richard, and they know that we're getting so close. And if we break Richard's case, with knowing exactly who murdered him, and getting that all out there, without a doubt, it will break the Walmart mass shooting case. And you see, that is that exposes our military. It exposes the military in collaboration with the cartel, in the collaboration with those the criminal network that will do the arms trafficking, that will do the human trafficking, at companies, the universities. UTEP is not innocent in this. Park University is not innocent in this. We have wrote them letters to let them know that they need that they need to clean it out, right? That they are not innocent in this. Um, and here we have the military also, and of course the DA's office, where we have lots of open records, and writing the AG, and there is just so much going on in the background, and we just want to tell you that we're doing our utmost to establish justice, to get the people of El Paso their money back. The people of El Paso need to get their money back for all of the criminal activity that this group has stolen, and the lives that they've stolen, and the mayhem that they have caused in El Paso and over there in Juarez, Mexico. Um, so this is a huge effort. Team Find Richard Halliday is a huge effort, and this criminal network is just out there. It's very easy. If we can find them, you can find them, because it's just taking time to research through some articles, go through some data banks, compare names, put together a family tree on these people, and write it down, make a little chart, and you can see for yourself. You don't have to trust me in a live stream. You can do it very easily. Just go to the victims here. The victims, Richard Halliday, the victim, Glendon Oakley Jr., the victims of the Walmart mass shooting, and start there. That's a good place to clearly get an understanding of this criminal network that have conflicts of interest. They know each other. They all know each other, and that they're up to no good, and that the Walmart mass shooting was not a lone shooter. Patrick Crucius has a severe mental health disorder, and Judge Medrano still has not given him a mental health evaluation to be publicized, right? Because we have heard and received confirmation that he has autism. And a mental health condition is different from a mental health illness, okay? Legally speaking, we had to learn all of that. So this is almost like getting a law degree, because of the research that we have had to do to understand, to write the letters, to understand this network, and to expose it so that we can find our son, so that we can get justice for Richard. No way could we live with ourselves if we didn't get justice for Richard. No way. This is a U.S. Army soldier. This is a distinguished honor graduate that volunteered in the Army with the best intentions. He wanted to serve with honor and dignity, to defend the Constitution, and to learn something, to get an education, to be mentored, to be cared for by his leadership. And, you know, a great crime, great crime was committed against him. And if it was committed against him, you see, it's committed against every veteran, because that's, we have an army of one. Leave no soldier behind. Esprit de corps, right? Be all you can be. We have, and if they did this to Richard, if they did this to Glendon Oakley Jr., if they did it to Asia Graham, it doesn't matter if they did it to Austin Hawke, if they did it to Caleb Smither, if they did it to, Vanessa Guillen, and on, right? I can go on and on with the names. Elder Fernandez, right? If they did this to them, they did it to all the American, all that live here, right? Legal or illegal, because this is our protection. This is what makes us a country. And if they did it to our soldiers, our service members, they did it to all of us, because we pay the taxpayers we pay the taxes for them to defend the Constitution, to be our line of defense, right? That's what we do in everything that we do. I mean, we're talking $1 trillion budget here. $1 trillion. We're not talking about 100 million. We're not even talking about 500 million. We're not even talking about 900 million or a billion or 10 billion or 100 billion, not even 500 billion. We're talking $1 trillion. It's huge. It's huge. It puts us in debt. And they are, they have betrayed us by betraying Richard, who went in there and that we have plenty of evidence. That is why I say that he is a distinguished honor graduate for his cycle and basic training and advanced individual training, because I want people to understand that he went in with the best intention, trying very, very hard as an 18-year-old. And that when he got to El Paso, those generals have a duty to take a young man or a young woman that volunteer and give them a place to live that they will want to live, like a barracks that has that are following the standard operating procedures. But the barracks were full of crime. They were putting our best, our volunteer sons and daughters, in a criminal place to live. A place to live that was full of crime. And their duty, the general's duty, is to defend the Constitution, the law. And yet they're putting our sons and daughters in a criminal place to live. The barracks are full of crime. From child pornography to illegal drugs. Not only that, but making them into a marketplace for illegal drugs. Sex cult activities. Rape. Illegal guns, all unregistered guns in the barracks, all kinds of other weapons, bringing girls in to party during COVID lockdown. And that's just a few of them. I'm not even talking about all the stealing and the fighting and the extortion, and it is just huge. the amount of crime that's in the barracks. And there is no excuse for it, because we have 44 four-star generals and admirals in an army that's 10 times smaller than during World War II, which was 10 times larger and was more disciplined and safe, and only had 7 four-star generals and admirals. This is, this is not something I made up. These are hard facts. And so they are culpable for what happened to Richard. And when Richard became a whistleblower, and they still don't want to admit that he's a whistleblower, but even in the very first grade work CID report, Richard is a whistleblower. They leave out the PI because the PI interviewed Boleyn, which clearly makes Richard, again, more evidence of him being a whistleblower. Calling the CPS on her multiple times, turning in the sex videos as evidence on her. And we know from other soldiers on Fort Bliss that they were airdropping terrible pornography. Okay. And of course, we know from witness testimony that Richard's platoon leader was involved with child pornography and other worse crimes. So this is, you have a military that is top heavy, and they are engaged. The only reason why they would want to make the barracks such a criminal place is if they were engaged in the criminal activity. So, of course, these generals are dirty. They're dirty, and they're engaged in the criminal activity. And there's just no oversight because of Veronica Escobar she has the oversight, but she, in our case, was colluding with the general instead of demanding oversight. And of course, who is it? Ted Cruz has oversight, and he wrote an amazing letter, but Christine Warmoth, the Secretary of the Army, just really flipped him off, flipped him off, and she's 23 ranks lower than he is. So that means there's corruption in our larger government, because someone with 23 ranks lower is having more power over an elective senator. That was very, very concerning for us. So if I was Ted Cruz, I'd be very upset about that and want Christine Warmoth arrested. She needs to be arrested right away. But that tells you the power of the military, right? That the military, even though they can't go in and arrest people, they still are, have the weapons, right? And they give orders. And so if the military is in the hands of people that are doing, are up to no good, then you would see something like this case where Christine Warmoth is telling an elected sitting senator to shove off. And that's what happened in this case. So it really shows that the generals, the 44 four-star generals and admirals, are dirty. They're dirty. They're up to no good. They've sold us out, and all that glitters is not gold. And I don't like them tarnishing our stars. I don't like them wearing our uniforms. They need to be stripped from our beautiful uniforms, and they need to be, all the stars need to be removed from them. They need to be arrested. They absolutely, that whole thing needs to be investigated because they're dirty. It's very, very clear. We have no successes in our military. So it's not because they're stupid. It's not because they're incapable. It's because they are betraying us. That's what that is. And it's very clear in Richard's case that they have betrayed us. Um, and they they might have connections with the money laundering, with the sales of these weapons, with the sales of the pornography, the child pornography, with the sales of the illegal drugs, with the human trafficking. And because nothing else makes sense. Maybe they want a certain job, a position, so they have to keep quiet. But I'm just saying that whoever promoted these people, they promoted very, very, very weak, orc-like individuals that would sell out our country. And because clearly they have. Clearly. And so, and I know that sounds so crazy, but when you think about it, why is every program and we couldn't even leave out of Afghanistan properly, and every program is a failed program. And the barracks, look at what happened to Austin Hawke in the barracks. Look at what happened to Caleb Smither in the barracks. Look at what happened to Vanessa Guillen in an arms room. And days went by. Do not tell me that you can hammer someone to death, right? And then somehow get them in a Pelican case. Because no way can you just easily put a person into a dead person into a Pelican case. And I want to be really respectful, but rest in peace, Vanessa. But we need to get justice for Vanessa, because no way could days go by. No way. This implicates Donna Martin, who's not a 4-star general. She's a 3-star general. She was in charge of CID. They put her now in charge of IG. She is the IG. So as the Inspector General of the Army, she is inspecting herself of what happened with the Vanessa Guillen case, with what happened with others, of course, and of course being connected. Fort Hood, now Fort Cavazos, and Fort Bliss were connected under that same command at that time. And so she was over Richard's case, and she was part of that 15 agency, which included Interpol, which included ATF, which included these generals, which included CBP and the Mexican government and Fiscalia, the police, the Mexican police, and included FBI, and included Department of State was there, and on, right? On and on. 15 plus agencies. She was there. So she's absolutely implicated in this. And, if you're wondering why this is taking so long, it's because of those truths. Because if we had a proper IG, this would be a done deal already. If we had a proper DA, this would be a done deal. But the DA is an illegitimate DA. And that's not me talking. That's in the news. That Bill Hicks is an illegitimate DA. He did not file his papers properly. And where is Greg Abbott in all of this? Why isn't the governor, calling Bill Hicks out for this? Appoint someone else. Bring back Yvonne Rosales, because she was unjustly removed, and she is the rightful winner of an election. This, what they did with Bill Hicks, what Bill Hicks did with El Paso Matters, and Justin Underwood, was election tampering. So Bob Moore, Bill Hicks, and Justin Underwood, we have in the open records, colluded together, even though Justin Underwood at that time was subject to a gag order. And he was in that case. He was part of that case that that Yvonne Rosales was looking into, which is the Walmart mass shooting case. He was subject to a gag order by Judge Medrano, and yet he went on social media, and we have that, and we have the open records that they colluded together to unseat Yvonne Rosales, who over 230,000 people voted for. And when Bill Hicks got in there, he didn't fill out his paperwork properly. He did not sign his anti-bribery paperwork that he has to do before he takes the oath of office as the district attorney. And this was revealed in the news by Reyes Mata. So you can look that up. You can look that up. It was a brilliant, brilliant piece that corroborated what our open records have in there. And he is just Bill Hicks is an illegitimate district attorney. It's as clear as that. And if we don't hold these people accountable to the law, then we're kind of like those guards that were outside of the tomb. When the light burst forth, they died. And, I don't want to be one of them. I'm going to say it. I'm going to say, Bill Hicks, I'm going to be for the law. Because when we get sloppy with the law, then we have a lot of murders. We have a lot of rapes. We have a lot of children getting hurt. We have 85,000 unaccounted for children just in 2021 and 2022. I don't have the numbers for 2023. But 85,000 for those 2 years from the El Paso Fort Bliss Emergency Intake Center. So, we need to get back to the law, because the light has bursted through, right? And there's nothing stopping. There's nothing stopping it. And I know that people have loved ones, and they don't want to see their loved ones have to, get that have committed crimes, be tried. And but we cannot. That's why when they were smearing Richard, I was like, well, that should be more of a reason for you to find him, and then you can judge him. Find him, and then you can judge him. And they were like, we already judged him. Really? You already judged him? They had no interest in finding Richard, which was also a huge red flag. So there's the message today is that lies cannot be maintained. And when you're on the side of truth, and you're on the side of Christ, the law, Because remember, Jesus Christ is the Word, and the Word became flesh. And every word that proceedeth from the mouth of God is law. And when you're on the side of law and law abiding, or, the way God puts it is, there's harmatia and there's antinomian. So those are two words that for the word sin. And harmatia is where you're trying to be law abiding in everything that you're doing, right? You're trying. And that is, trying to hit the mark all the time. And God is on our side all the time. He's so long suffering with us when we're trying the best we could in understanding how this world works. But then there's another type of sin, and that's the antinomian sin. And antinomian is when you're just satanic, right? Where you're trying to thwart God's kingdom and everything that you're doing. And you see that with what the leaders today are trying to do. They're trying to thwart God's kingdom. And it just doesn't work. It just doesn't work. You're on the losing team if you're antinomian. I really love football. And, you get 4 tries, right, to get that goal. And if you can move it 10 yards, you get another try. You get another 4 tries, and you can keep going and keep going. And this is like harmatia. You're always trying to meet that goal. And then the antinomians are just the cheaters, and they're not going to win. They're going to be hit, and they just cannot move forward. So, and I think that is the lesson for today. So, okay, everyone, thank you so much. Happy Easter, and I will be back tomorrow, God willing. Bye-bye.